No, you can't. You're gonna have to, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna be needing to be made a host again to get the screen up, I think.
You need to record because I have to keep my volume down.
Okay, okay.
Otherwise we have to,
Okay, so I'm going to record. Oh,
So-
good.
yeah, and then
Okay.
everything should be fine.
So what I'm gonna do is share the screen, host disabled screen sharing. So I think you have to give it back to me. We're gonna get this eventually.
Slide. Story, but some haven't. And that time we had. Of course, he wanted to go the natural route, but because he had so many fractures, he did start off with medication. But while he took the taking medication, he took the supplements needed to help the bones, and diet, he changed his whole diet. After a while of on the medication, everything started to improve. It might have been a year, it might have been two, I'm not quite sure. And then he just stayed on supplements and the right food, the right lifestyle.
Especially I'm not familiar with this Zoom version. Yes.
So
You
look
have to,
this-
you have to
yeah.
close the room and reopen it.
And
But I'm not
think so?
familiar.
so, you know, they're
Oh, are you?
very impressed
Okay,
when
so is
he
it already
said-
recording?
And this book is not a book
Okay,
that I'm reading. This is
Let's
more of a reference book.
okay.
Yeah, we can start.
And he really writes well. You look at it, you might be intimidated by it. But once you read some of the things he has to, you know, some of his pages, it does read easy, okay? And if you take one chapter at a time, like we're doing, we're taking one chapter at a time. And thoroughly reading it and understanding it. And Deb is really into this. So she knows everything about the bones.
Not exactly, but no, constantly learning. All right, so I think we are finally ready and we're recording. So thank you all for your patience and Jeannie as well. And here we go. So how bone loss occurs and a few things you can do. We're looking at the Great Bones book here. This is where the material comes from. I'm Deb Martin, holistic health educator.
And my name is Yerzov Pererva. I'm a doctor in Russia and acupuncturist in the United States.
And we have a special guest, Kandy Love. And I don't know why I don't have Vicky here. I have her listed elsewhere. So Vicky Gilardi is our food healer, and she will be talking about certain food-related nourishment for our bones today. So let's see if we go down. There we go. So our agenda, we're going to be covering these topics today. The bone remodeling, concept of coupling versus uncoupling, coupled or uncoupled, what that means. High bone turnover osteoporosis, what is that? And what could estrogen have to do with that? The role of genetics and epigenetics, we'll touch on that because that, of course, if your parents, for example, had it, you might be more prone to have it as well. The properties of bone quality, case study with Emma. So this is someone who had a serious case of osteoporosis and how her treatment progressed. And then a section on yoga for bones. And then we'll have today's bone nourishing menu featuring arugula salad and some other goodies. So that's what we're up to here today. So I basically just said all of these things except Dr. Keith McCormick's book. I held it up, but that's his name. And for those of you who haven't seen him, he was an Olympic athlete. He was a decathlon contender and thought to be a gold contender in 1980 when we were pulled out of the Olympics. Okay, so coupled versus uncoupled remodeling. So the concept of remodeling, we're talking about bones here.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
The thing is, both coupled and uncoupled are very simplified version of the classifications that we were checking last chapter actually. And here is just very briefly, coupled when the amount of bone transformation osteoblast equals to the amount of bone resorption osteoclast, which is basically normal. When it's unnormal, when it's out of balance, it is counted as uncoupled.
Right. And then there's some uncoupled states that he goes into in the book here. It's most common, I think, is postmenopausal issue.
Yes, the thing is, as I previously stated on a previous chapter, on a previous presentation, the thing is women's gender more prevalent with getting osteoporosis versus male gender. The thing is because women are very dependent on estrogen for their menstrual cycle. When it's going into menopause, their hormonal balance tries to goes without it, so that there would not be necessary to produce any more of the cells. The thing is, for male, we do not have stuff like that. We are just gradually decreasing the amount of hormones that we are producing, so we're not that much dependent. But we do have other issues like cardiovascular problems more prevalent in us than women.
Okay, so the concept of high bone turnover osteoporosis is one that gets most concern, and in the book he's talking about this as very rapid decline. So at the point where menopause, the woman has been past menopause and maybe a few years after that, it could be a very high turnover rate, depending on how drastic the decline is. And our bodies attempt to make other kinds of estrogen from fat cells, for example, but it may not be the right kind of estrogen.
True. The thing, no, there are different types of estrogens, but in general, they still have the same main function to control the cells that are sensitive to estrogen itself.
Okay.
The thing is, as I previously was stating, we do produce it with during the menstrual cycle or out of cholesterol. When you have cholesterol, you are synthesizing it into testosterone, and from testosterone, both females and males turn it into estrogen. The amount of production of estrogen from testosterone makes you prevalent with secondary characteristics of male versus female.
Good. Okay, great. And there's another one that has to do with, there's a normal amount of breakdown. That's the osteoclasts. I consider them the crunchers. So the osteoclasts, there's a normal amount of breakdown, but not enough of the osteoblasts doing the rebuilding. And then the third kind is too little breakdown and little or no rebuilding. So any of us with this bone situation are probably in one of these states of an uncoupled. That just means you're out of balance, right? It's pretty clear. Now, one thing that's clear in the book is that this is not an easy thing necessarily to get through. You need to be patient. You need to be persistent. So this is directly from Dr. McCormick. He says, because every square centimeter of bone is remodeled every 5 to 10 years, it can take years of hard effort put toward improving your health before this trend of uncoupled remodeling can reverse. So it takes a while. In fact, you'll see I've got a picture of a DEXA scan here. And every year or so, we will probably go back and get a new scan. However, it may not show a great deal of change in a year. Hopefully you'll see a trend. But as we discussed last time, there are a variety of different kinds of tests, including blood tests, that can look at how much osteoclast crunching versus osteoblast building activity is occurring in a blood test. So you can more quickly know. So for someone on medications, you will really want to know, because these medications have side effects that can be serious. You'll want to manage the situation carefully, and that knowledge can be power, real power in helping treat you appropriately.
On previous presentation, we did discuss the methods of diagnosis, and if my memory suits me right, we were explaining you guys that the main tool for differentiating that it is osteoporosis for people is using the diagnostic methods like DEXA scan, for example. But doctors do still use, and it is main thing to pick up the notes and think in the right direction, is asking questions. When people taking the anamnesis morbia from the patients, they do recognize that it is a situation and how it grew out of them. Like they do differential diagnosis with details such as the other person has, for example, colorectal cancer plus heart failure and osteoporosis. Aha, this will be pinpointing me to what? To the problem with beta-catenin amount. Yes, we will be talking about this one later.
Okay, so see, it's not always just as simple as it might seem, but it could be simpler if you're working with someone who has good diagnostic techniques and really gets to know your situation. So there's help there, help there.
Please never hide from your doctor the details that might point to the problem. You may be not aware of them, but if doctor is asking you questions, it is strictly to pinpoint to the problem that he has in mind, because there are many ways how it could be transformed. And if doctor is asking you the question, please do answer it honestly.
Okay. There was a phrase or a short discussion in here about trabecular bones. And if you'll remember from last time, there's the DEXA scan, and that's looking at bone density. And that's only half of the story. Donna, what's the other half of the story?
Well, you had a list of places that had the TMS.
TBS, tubercular bone score.
Yeah. And I called a number of them, and I did about 8 calls, and none of them, they're licensed to get it. They're not doing it yet.
Right. So this was what Donna brought to us.
I was actually told the place did it, and I went there. I waited a month for an appointment. I went there, showed up, and I said, "Now you're going to do this, right?" She said, "What's that?" I said, "No, really." And she had, I guess they had it confused with something else, but
oh goodness,
I ended up not doing it because I'm trying to hold on to my script for getting the right one.
Getting the right one,
So
yes.
I'm gonna recall everybody and see if anybody's finally, they have their license. Are they doing it yet? But
Okay.
all the local ones, Sarasota and Englewood and Estero.
Naples,
Was that
Naples,
I don't know if I got to Naples.
Naples, Miami, and
But I called,
Tampa, I think.
Rave and what's the local one? Radiology Associates
Yes.
and Millennium Laboratories, and none of them, they're licensed. No, Millennium's not licensed, but the others are licensed. They're on the list that you gave us, but they're not doing it yet.
Okay, so this is the thing. Half of the story is the DEXA. Half of the story is this TBS, trabecular bone score. And that's the quality of the bone. What's the inside of the bone like? Not just the outside density. What's the inside like? This will make a huge difference in fracture risk, in the bone breaking or not bone breaking when you fall. And so it's important to understand that, to know on a very deep level how serious your case is. For example, 50% of women, this was a study, 50% of women who had fractures did not have a diagnosis of osteoporosis. So their bone density showed up good, but they broke their bones. But the inside of the bone was not good. So that's the other half, the flexibility. What's the stuff inside made of? What are the infrastructures, the trabecular bone infrastructures connecting everything? There's a little network, like if you see a bridge,
proteins and microenvironments. Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
Those are essential. The thing is, bone is not just a huge clump of calcium. It is consists of other elements, first of all. Secondly, it consists of ocean type of proteins. We were discussing it previously. And as well, it also create a microstructure. For example, outer shell is tubes that are surrounding the kind of blood vessel that is transporting the liquid, which is called blood, to supply the food to the bone, because bone, if you didn't know, is a live tissue, and it contains cells that are supposed to be eating this food and those micro elements to restore your bones. If the microcirculation of the bone is in disorder, they will not be able to consume the food, and they will not be able to restore the bone, which could create inflammation and then degradation of the bone, which we don't want at all.
Okay, so there's a lot of issues to be aware of here, and we do want to make sure that there's a TBS capable center locally. All it is you go to a place with a DEXA, they have software called TBS, Trabecular Bone Score, and they simply run the trabecular bone score software over the test that has been run by the DEXA to accumulate that information so that you have both the density and the quality of the bone. So now you know really what you have, okay? And when the trabecula is disconnected, it's very difficult to heal that with lifestyle only.
The thing is, when trabecula is disconnected, you are basically connecting the already existing tissue from their stem cell root. If you don't have the stem cell root, it will be just flying all by itself and eventually will die. But if it still has some blood supply, it will be creating another bone. You don't want that. You don't want more bones in your body if you already have enough. At the same time, the bones that will be disconnected from the supply will be degrading and eventually dying slowly or fast, depends on the blood supply.
But there are ways to work these. You just need to know what you're dealing with, you see? So it's important. Osteoporosis is not just one thing that works one way in every person. It's different in different people. Okay. Page down. So there are some mechanical troubles that can exist. And we talk about these for your awareness. And some of these things we can do something about. So the first mechanical trouble with having the ability to build bones is poor soil. You see what he calls it. It's a lack of embedded, and we'll figure this out for you in other language, but a lack of embedded osteogenic fertilizer. These are growth factors and signaling molecules. So poor soil.
Okay, small detail on this one. If you want to construct a building, you would need materials. If you don't have materials, you will not be able to construct the building. Same with the plants. If you have a plan to make a plant, you will be picking materials you need. If you don't have those materials, you will have very ill plants. Nowadays, we do have new type of fertilizers that are stimulating the growth of the plant, but it will be creating a non-healthy plant. It will not have enough of the nutrients to actually proceed with growth of the fruit. They will be looking big and juicy, but inside will be watery, and you can sometimes even feel it in the market. This means this fruit was grown on I forgot the name of the type of fertilizer. I'm sorry about that. My English is bad about that one.
Glyphosate?
No. Okay.
Anyway, a fertilizer.
The new type fertilizers would be lacking those nutrients. They will just only stimulating the growth of the fruit en masse, but not pointing the nutrition value of those fruits. And those nutrition values you should be consuming. If you'll be drinking water all the time and not eating food, you will die. Same with this. You are basically consuming nothing, even though you're consuming something, and it not doesn't benefit you. And the same with your body. When you are eating unhealthy foods, you are lacking in supplements those nutrients, and with old age you are increasing the problem, because with your as age goes by, your intestines are worsening the function of consuming the nutrients from the food you are taking. And when you have lack of nutrients in the fruit and you are lacking ability to consume those nutrients, it just decrease, and eventually, hoppa, I have osteoporosis. What a wonder.
So what we eat makes a big difference. We need to be consuming foods that are full of nutrition. Right. Okay. I think everybody agrees with that, right?
Yes.
Anybody disagree? Okay. So there's also the possibility that there's a scarcity of bone lining and osteogenic cells. Now, what's an osteogenic cell?
This is actually a very simplified term, and basically we are all born from one single cell that's called zygote. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly in English, because usually we say zygote, not zygote. So zygote is one cell, and it multiplies multiple times, and eventually it wants to say itself, okay, I have built it up to this level, I need to stop and grow into other direction. Because if we'll be just growing from one single cell, we'll be just a lump of meat, sphere shaped. We don't want that. That's why it was programmed by biology and by your own parents to grow into this direction. If I want a limb, I will stop growing to the shoulder and go it to the left to make an arm grow. Same here. And when it says I should stop, it stops. It does have some spare material. It's called stem cells. With this spare material, you are able to substitute the old cells. Not everything is for eternity. Even bricks and cement will eventually crumble into dust. Same with the cells. They have to be, at some point, be substituted with a new generation of stem cells that you already have. And these stem cells, they do multiply by specific organic tissues in our bodies, but they have a limit, which is already programmed by nature. We will be talking about on the next slide about that one, but I hope you understand the point. This bone lining is basically your stem cells, and they have some function to grow your new cells, to grow more bones, but eventually they will run out. Okay. Because of nature.
So this is the osteogenic category. It's all of the cells that are needed for the bone remodeling process and the management of that. So there's...
Oh yes, I forgot one important point. The thing is, we are all different. And for example, if you have 150 fractures on the same part of your bone through your entire life, you will run out of your osteogenic cells, and you will not be able to restore your, for example, new 151st fracture. But other people will have it lesser, some people will have it more. It's just how we were programmed from birth by our parents, from a single cell.
Okay, so we inherit the capabilities. That's what we have. And of course, we'll talk about some of the things that can interrupt that. There are defects in development in your genetics, perhaps. And there's signaling, different kinds of signaling mechanisms. And without going into too much detail, the WNT is the one that comes up.
VNT, basically it is abbreviation from very jokish name, wing and integer. It was back then the genetics were starting to educate themselves by researching fruit flies, and they were studying them, and that's where they decided wing and integer, great, okay, we have VNT. Don't stopping too much on this one. The thing is, this is a cascade reaction of transformative
Signals.
signals in your cells. The thing is, you have one cell, and as finish their own school, they decide to go on a job, and they have to pick which jobs they have to go, be a policeman, firefighter, doctor, lawyer, and so on. And they have to decide where to go, and VNT is what they are using to decide whom to be. And yes, if you have some problems with VNT cascading reactions, you will have problems with deciding who you are supposed to be. And if you are this type of person that you have to be, for example, you have to be osteoclast, you have to have specific tools to use. If you are lacking tools, you are not able to work. And if you have problems with VNT cascading, you have problems with the amount of tools you have. For example, we were talking about beta-catenin. Beta-catenin is actually, you can just remember it as a glue. Yes, it is a glue that connects cells in your body. It is very essential, and most of the cells do have it. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, it's probably Chinese institution. They have research that beta-catenin, if it would be decreasing in the amount due to mutation, they would be decreasing the osteoclast amount and function. And we don't want that one. Plus, if you would be decreasing beta-catenin, people also do have problems with the depression. If you see people with the depression, or problem with gut motility, heart failure, or if you colorectal cancer, and osteoporosis, doctors pinpoints, you have to do the check with beta-catenin in your body.
Okay, so that's one of the things the doctor may look at for us. So there's some other testing too. Whenever you're looking at any of these mechanical troubles, that's very important. The hormonal levels are quite key. As we've talked about, having estrogen is important for building bones. And that was, in fact, probably my major trouble. And that I hope to see changes in. I'm seeing some other changes. I'm sleeping better. That's good. And that will help me build bone, for one thing. There's skin changes. There's energy changes. So there's lots of good things when you have hormones. And if you're studying the brain, you'll hear the same thing. We need to have a good level of estrogen in order to keep our brains in good shape. So hormone levels key.
Just small addition while we are still on the topic of genetics. The International Institution of Bone Research, I forgot the name, but I hope you understand what institution I'm talking about. They have conducted that with research and created a result that 116 Mendelian inherited clinical phenotypes and 86 mutated causative genes are responsible for bone creation failure. If on a stage when mother and father love each other and create a baby, if you and afterwards the baby have a problem with bones, those amount of genetic material could be at fault.
Very, very interesting. And there's a lot going on these days with DNA-oriented medicine. So I think in our lifetime, we will see a lot more definitive results helping to diagnose and treat people in most effective ways because we are unique. I wanted to read just a little bit about the paucity of bone. He calls it the paucity, or I called it scarcity of bone lining cells and osteocytes. Osteoblasts, these are the ones that build, generally live for only about 2 weeks, but some stay alive and become bone lining cells, and others transition into osteocytes. Bone lining cells cover areas of bone that have recently been formed or remodeled. Here they live quietly in a semi-dormant, flattened state for years until the next round of remodeling begins. But as you age and mesenchymal stem cell viability declines, that's what Dr. Yaroslav was talking about. So does your ability to form new osteoblasts, leaving fewer bone lining cells at the ready to plump up and start producing bone. There are also fewer osteocytes to orchestrate the bone remodeling process. You may lack enough bone lining cells to form new bone if you have osteoporosis or even osteopenia, especially if your hormone levels are out of balance or your immune system is compromised by gut issues. So here's the second one. I've talked about we need to make sure we've got enough estrogen going. Number two, your guts have to be working. Dr. Yaroslav's talking about it too. Everyone who in the medical arena who really understands these things knows these are two critical factors. And here's the third one. And this one's for you, Kathy, your thyroid function. Okay, so those three things are really important to check and hopefully correct. And you can correct these things. You can correct your immune system balance in your gut. We help with this. Vicki helps with this all the time. It's the most common thing that comes to me as well. And thyroid malfunctioning, there's a lot to be said about knowing really what's going on there. And there's more than one test that you should have run. I think more of the MDs are getting on board with this now, that there are 5 different tests that you really want to check out to see what's going on and what the true cause is in order to properly treat. And to see, I'm going to go down to the next one. So epigenetics. So your microbiome balance is a big deal, and the past is present. So there's your DNA. So we talked about that a little bit. Epigenetics. So would anyone out there in the audience like to tell me what you think epigenetics is?
What you've inherited from your parents.
Okay, so it's above what you inherited from your parents. So you can have 2 twins that identical twins, and if they eat differently or one lives a very stressful life and the other one doesn't, they will develop different symptomology, different diseases because of these things, because any gene has multiple ways of expressing.
Yes, indeed. We do have a mechanism called methylation. When you have a methylation, it basically takes your amino acids and methylate them. You have your DNA as a matrix, and it just have a list of programs that supposed to be conducted at some point in your life, from zygote till your adulthood. You have them active and inactive, and for you, in order to stop being active at some point, because you don't want to be a blob of meat, they are supposed to be inactive. Let's say I only need 2 arms and that's it. So I grew 1 arm, I grew a 2nd arm, stop it. Mutilate this gene. Okay, stop. We will not have 3rd arm. I wish I could.
Yeah, it could be very useful. I agree. I agree.
And that is one of the mechanisms. And for example, if people have, just give me a second, I'm looking for a name. Oh my God. Oh, yes. If, for example, people have CASP3 gene active, it would be actually producing unwanted results called Alzheimer's disease. The thing is, researchers say that some Alzheimer's disease cases with their amyloids problems are due to the gene CASP3 too much active. We don't want that one. We want to switch it off. If we will switch it off, we'll be not having or stop having Alzheimer's problems.
Right, exactly. And that's a whole other discussion, but it involves anything that you're looking to reverse, heal, or maintain. You have power over what your genes decide to do based on the fuel that you take in, based on the exercises that you do, based on your mental and emotional states, based on your stress level. Okay, all of these, and your sleep. Whoa.
I
a
knew
little-
it would be.
Yeah, it's going to rain.
Mhm.
So hopefully, yes. Based on all of these things, one person who is in a twin, an exact twin match, will have one kind of health and the other person will have another kind of health, because this is above the genetics. It's turning on and turning off. This one gene can do multiple things. It'll do this, like you said, they could become a fireman or they could become a doctor. They're different professions. So same thing, different things in the body that they will choose to do based on what we turn on. Everything is chemical signaling once it gets in. It's amazing. So I wanted to leave you with some hope on this one too. In all of these situations with genetics, even though genetics has been compromised, you may still be able to boost bone building activity by A, taking supplemental collagen to boost integrin receptor stimulation on osteoblasts and therefore promote their activity. And B, making sure you have the best ratio of gut flora possible to promote immune tolerance. But there's no doubt that improving mechanics of bone building situations can be tough. So there are essentially endless ways genetic alterations and poor lifestyle choices can inhibit progress toward improved bone health. And this is why medications will sometimes have their place too. So lifestyle matters. You guys got it. We've got first, heal and balance the gut. Nutrition, sleep, exercise, mental and emotional health. These are the lifestyle components of it. All right. And there are a few things that most doctors don't know. We've already covered TBS, remember, trabecular bone score. The bone quality testing is not often prescribed with the DEXAs. And by the way, sometimes you see DEXA with an E in it and sometimes without, but it's the same machine measuring bone density. But TBS has been around for about 18 years now, I think. It has high levels of approval, and I have created, and we will soon be sending to all of you, a petition that I'm going to send to the marketing departments with some idea of dollar signs for them as to why in our local community we need to have a center that has DEXA with the TBS score. Okay, so that's coming soon. I drafted it yesterday. We've got one of our young whizzes, her name is Alex, on it. And I said, I want to have, these are the things I want it to do. Here's my requirements list for how this thing works. She'll put it together. You will see it. It'll come out as an email. And if you've used software for registering at certain hotels, you've probably seen something called DocuSign. So you'll be able to sign your name, your address, and then I will take those personally to the marketing departments of all the local places here, and we will see what we can get moving along. Somebody's going to take the bite, because wherever they do it, everyone in this room is going to change where they're going to that place, right? I know I will. Okay, and there are also many tests beyond the DEXA that are available to monitor the progress, like I mentioned, the blood tests. And again, if you weren't not able to see the presentation from last time, it was all about these kinds of testings for bone loss. And then lack of knowledge of lifestyle medicine. It's still sad that not enough of our MDs are on board with this. They didn't get the training. In the US, they get shorted.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
or
Dottie,
we say
sure.
that after?
No, go ahead, ask the question.
Okay, my sister-in-law has been told by a female doctor, she lives in Sweden, and that she has a very, very rare blood disorder.
Okay,
2% of the population has it. And she's had one bone marrow test, and now she has to have another one to some reason, well, because they put her on medicine, so the second bone marrow test
will see if there's an improvement,
Mhm.
but she's not looking forward to the bone growth.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know
ouch,
what that's involved, but it sounds awful.
painful.
Yeah. So
Oh.
are any of these looking at bone marrow?
You see, probably, yes, it's your first time, that's why. The thing is, yes, bone and blood are very connected. Actually, even fat is connected to that one because all of that is called connective tissue. And this connective tissue is actually grows from the same stem cell list during your embryonic lifestyle. The thing is, when at some point you just decided, okay, I will be blood, then I will be bone, the other one I will be fat tissue. And by checking the blood, you would be able to check how many okay, in your bones you have stem cells that are producing blood, that's a fact. And by going to the bone, checking this bone marrow, you would be able to check how many stem cells you have, what their conditioning, how is you have this rare blood disease that you have. The thing, all of them are connected, and we can do with a biopsy. Please, your sister should not be afraid of doing this test. I would do myself this test too if I had the problem myself. It's better to check it.
Yeah.
It's painful, maybe it's scary. They will just insert the syringe, make a small hole in the bone, take some part of the tissue, look at the microscope, and we'll see the problem. If it would be, for example, a cancer, I'm not sure which problem your sister has, but I can only assuming here. But for example, if it would be cancer, and cancer would be in the bone marrow, and even though it would be on the first stage and will be creating the problem that is grown into the problem with the blood, we would be able to treat it. If it would be on a later stage, like stage 4, we would do nothing. We will not be able to.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay,
Спасибо. Thank you.
yeah.
Не за
Good.
что.
Okay, so let's talk about osteoporosis mismanagement for a moment. It's really obvious that there are too many prescriptions being made for osteoporosis. That's the first thing that doctors go to because that's what they're trained to do. And so you are here because you're discerning about this and you want to check to see if there's natural, normal ways to get back to your own health. And this is where I would start as well, obviously. There are too many prescriptions though, so we need to be cautious. Prednisone and other steroids, those are causing bone loss issues. I go to a chiropractor I love locally. Thank you, Kandy. Dr. Lee Angle is his name. He is an upper cervical doctor, so he's got special training in dealing with the top little bones up here. And he told me the other day that one of his patients, he said she was on some drug and it for her bones, and it literally deteriorated her jaw. And I said, oh, Boniva. I remember that one. I remember hearing that one. I'll never forget the name because it's known for doing that. Prednisone is known for doing that, and other steroids.
The thing, I will not be going too deep because it's pharmacology and I already was going way too deep on the some topics. I will talk briefly. You see, in order for a medication to work, it has to work in a specific way. You have to dig the trench to go there. Otherwise, you will not be able to achieve your goal if the main mechanism is not working. In order to prednisone to do, it has to use calcium channels. If it will not be using it, it will not be working. The other medications will be using the other channels, but it will be giving other side effects. And because doctor maybe made a mistake, maybe he didn't see the blood test results, or maybe there was another mistake. I don't know. I haven't seen the situation. But if she was taking this medication for too long. It is obvious that if it was constructed to use in this way, it would be just jigging. Oh, I dig bone. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's how I was programmed to do.
Right, so there are reasons why people might need to be on prednisone. I know with the with COVID and that cytokine storm cascade, which was the huge inflammatory process that went on in the lungs, well, something like that could stop it. So there are times when it's an emergency and you need a medication. And it's just not, you don't want to stay on prednisone for a long time. We see people whose Achilles heels pop. It's very destructive in the long term. Then there's PPIs. So those are the stomach acid killers. It's not good for you to have stomach acids coming up into your esophagus. Not only does that hurt, but that can create cancer. A lot of problems.
Basically, just in a simple way, it just can create a hole, because even if your stomach is protected with special lining, but for example, esophagus will not have the special lining. It will be just normal meat. What's going on with your meat if you go inside your stomach?
Right.
Safe.
Yeah, it's not good. But when PPI, when someone gets on that, there may be a temporary time frame where it makes sense to do. It's just that most people don't know to move on from that, because that's decreasing their amount of ability to absorb their food and use it. And so there's other ways to do that. And SSRIs, those are the mental illness ones. All of these tend to hit the gut. And that's the basis of so much of our health and immune system. Everything's interconnected with the bones too. The skeletal health is really a big part of everything. Without the skeleton, we would be blobs. So any medication which disrupts our intestinal microbiome can create a myriad of health issues.
Can I
So
say something about
yes,
medication?
yes.
Okay, it's very important. If your doctor recommends medication, before you take it, go online, see the side effects. And okay, one client had a heart condition. The prescription was for Invinity, I think. And when we pulled it up online, it said, if you have any kind of heart disease, do not take this medication. Okay, so again, it's the training, okay, and all the new medications, they're not up on all the side effects. So just make sure, be your own advocate, check it, okay?
Right.
Check to make sure you don't have heart condition or some other things that they mentioned with some of the other medications.
So what Vicky's sharing for those of you listening online is that whenever you do get a prescription for medication, go look up online, what are the side effects of this? And, sometimes the doctor gets to see you for 10 minutes and they've got, I don't know, 40 patients a day or something. It's ridiculous. This system is just not healthy for them either. And they can't remember everything.
From my side, I would say that do not prescribe yourself a medication. Do be aware of them, though. If doctor have not seen you in much detail, or maybe missed a small mistake, everyone is a human. Just pinpoint on that, talk with people. If you are talking with people, you will be able to achieve a lot of things. To tell him, what about this medication? Or I'm a bit amazed. I'm sure a professional, but please have a look. I'm a bit afraid of using it because of this, what's on internet it says. Should I be taking it or not? Did you take into account these side effects? Doctor will think, doctor will pay attention to your words, and will be if necessary, we'll check. Okay, take it for a few days, and we'll see the results. Come to me on the next visit, and we'll be talking about that one in more detail.
And there's also the ability to get advice from someone in natural medicine, and then, or the pharmacist, exactly. Yes, Paul?
Just to clarify, the negative effect of protein pump inhibitors or SSRIs is digestion.
Yes, that is one.
I will not be going too much into detail. Yes, all the doctors are aware of it. Why we are using it? Again, because it is strong effect,
That's PPIs.
and we can use it temporarily. We are not prescribing it for too long. Some patients maybe taking the words of a doctor way too unhealthy way. They will be thinking, oh, he prescribed me this medication. That means this medication will be helping me. I will be taking it for a lifetime and I will be happy. Plus, it does have a strong effect. And why should it be bothering going visit and the doctor again, paying him money when I'm already healthy with this medication and I don't need to take it. And then, oh my God, what's going on with the digestive situation? Oh no, doctor made a mistake. Maybe doctor did not make a mistake, but actually you were a bit shy to talk to him about it.
Okay. All right, good. So finally, there's the case for osteoporosis medication when bone loss has gone too far. So this is Dr. McCormick's words. There are essentially endless ways genetic alterations and poor lifestyle choices can inhibit progress toward improved bone health. This is why osteoporosis medications have their place, at least on an emergency, short-term basis for lowering fracture risks. Okay, so, and then there was a case study, which I thought was really interesting. So I'll just take you through this very quickly. A 57-year-old white female, 7 years post-menopause. Her T-scores were minus 3.3 at the spine, minus 3 at the left hip neck, minus 2.8 at the hip total. And then dietary treatment plan. She was seeing Dr. McCormick, which, by the way, you can see Dr. McCormick also. He would want to see all kinds of test results that you have. You'd be working with your local doctor here to get some of them because he's in Massachusetts. And so you'd need to have them done here. But he was working with her, and his dietary treatment plan was to increase fruits and veggies, eliminate dairy, to increase vitamin D to 3,000 units a day. Supplements, he put her on B vitamins to reduce the homocysteine. Do you guys remember that from, we did a section on in July on inflammation. There's two things you can have tested in the blood to check for general inflammation. Homocysteine is one of them. He put her on a calcium, a particular kind of calcium supplement, magnesium, trace minerals, alpha lipoic acid, and N-acetylcysteine, some probiotics, and some fish oil. That's a lot, but you can do that. And then he had her taking digestive enzymes with meals. As Dr. Yaroslav says, as we get past 50 or 60, our digestive abilities kind of slow down and we need to have help. After 6 months on this protocol, she had excellent improvement in all of her blood tests. Her vitamin D, homocysteine, C-reactive protein, all those went in the right direction. And then the CTX bone resorption rate, that's a blood test that you can do like every 3 to 6 months to figure out, are the bone crunchers working adequately or too much? And the P1NP is the bone formation, or the osteoblasts working properly. So he did that. I didn't really have room on the slide to put the rest of this, but because she was at the 3.3 level and she was really worried about it, and she was a tiny female with thin bones to begin with, and she had broken some bones. So he decided to put her on one particular kind of medication for 2 years. It brought up all of her numbers. Everything was good. He brought her down off of the medication because he knows how to do this. Not very many doctors, I don't think, really spend a lot of time on how to get people off of it. So they just stop it, and that's a problem for a lot of reasons. Things can happen that become even worse. So she was, after 6 years then, post all of this, she held it. She was doing great. She was maintaining perfectly. So there was an opportunity where he used a medication for a short time, 2 years, and then took her off of it appropriately and got her into a nice maintenance mode so that she was no longer fracture risk. Okay.
Now, some of my clients just will not take a pharmaceutical medication.
Some people will not take a pharmaceutical.
So
This
we-
woman wanted to, I
Right,
think.
And I understand that, okay? We have Ostera, I put them on,
Mhm.
it's from Ostenol,
Mm-hmm,
a mineral supplement,
mm-hmm,
okay, that we carry here. And that's what I recommend, along with a good eating program.
Right. Vicky's talking about our bone building program here. And many of the dietary requirements that you see here would be the same kinds of things Vicky would work with different kinds of supplements, with the food. And so we do all of that here. Absolutely. I'm just saying if it's a really tough case, now maybe as Yaroslav comes on board more, you would be working more with that.
The thing is, this case is very, how to say, classic. And the treatment is also very classic. And if patients will be always this simple, it would be very kind. But sadly, every single person is not even sad, even good. Everyone is unique, and illnesses of theirs are also unique. Cases are different, and we have to be individual to each other.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so we are ready to do a bit with yoga for bones. So everyone can stand up, take a stretch. We're going to reorganize the front platform here. And you'll be,
How can I help you with this one?
just have to move these things to the back. Candy will need to be moving around.
Well, we might be here.
You might need to-
Yeah, because I've got some people that probably don't understand.
Okay.
So we'll do some chair thing and then some standing.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can do it all sitting.
Oh, right. You
Might be
don't
easier
have
for
to
some
move.
to sit.
Yeah, you guys don't move your chairs, just us up here.
You're
Okay,
not
so
standing.
Candy, is this gonna be in your way?
I don't know. Well, no, I'll sit.
You want to sit?
Yeah, I'll sit.
Okay.
So where's this? That's the camera?
This is the
Yeah,
camera.
camera.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so Miss Candy Love, let's talk about bones and
Let's-
yoga.
Is everybody back though? Let me just wait a second
Oh,
here.
amazing.
It's okay.
I can start. Okay. All right, you can have another seat now. Just let's start seated.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I can't move away because they got to see me at home. Oh, that's just okay. We'll figure it out. I'm not used to this. So all this talk about bones, and they're real, and a lot of times they're inside, so people don't think about it unless you break one. All of a sudden, you know you have a bone, but still to actually see the skeleton now. This was together until I took him apart because he was hanging in my house. So this is Mr. Bone Jangles. And so I thought, well, it's actually kind of good that if you're not together around the bones, you'll fall apart. So that's the other stuff about the lifestyle things. It fits in very well, although I'm just chagrined that he's not all together. But the fact is that everything's connected. So everything they've been talking about lifestyle does affect bones, because if you don't have the things healthy around them, they can fall apart. But beyond that, so there are 216 bones. So in the whole, so there we go.
He's hard to hold. You need to.
No, I think I got it.
process this
Okay.
in.
So I thought it was kind of interesting because it shows you the amazing connection of the leg bones connected to the hips, the arm bones connected to the chest, and there's this rather amazingly small structure of the spine that holds them together and ends up in the head. So where I'm holding the head on with the neck is actually a very small area, considering all these things from the body have to go up to the head, and from the head to the body, there's a narrow channel. So all of this is to give you an orientation that this isn't everybody, depending on who's counting. Some say 216, some say 217. So
It's just, no, it's not who's counting. The thing is, every single person is individual, and sometimes people have, but our ancestors had tails, and these bones actually either grow together or separate,
Yeah.
creating multiple.
which is why I said how they counted, because we know the bones are individual, but they didn't get it there. So yes, and so also you could have a sternal end of your bone here at the sternum or not. So it is very individual. So and I've got, somebody in my family that doesn't have a coccyx at all. So the individuality is important, but all is the basis that this is what's inside all of us. And that's no exception. It doesn't matter race, creed, religion, whatever. We all have the same structure. That's kind of makes it an easier presentation. So all the choices are, we're still talking about the same thing. All of the muscles, connective tissue, fluids, all of that happens around the bones. So the idea of the bones being important is the fact that you would actually fall apart if you don't have the structure. The structure itself needs the support of the body. They all work together. Okay, is that? I had planned to do more, but you can't do much with the parts. Okay. But there, I've had people surprised to learn there are even 216 bones, because it's not in biology, what, 10th grade? You know, and then you go to high school, maybe you go to college, but there's not a lot of things about the body that are taught afterwards. So with all the talk of bones, I thought was a good place to start. In the website, on the website, Deb had talked to me about yoga and osteoporosis. So this has been around yoga for years. This is not a new subject for people that are doing yoga, mainly because it was easy to study. People come in before and they have certain conditions, they do some yoga, and then they feel better afterwards. So this has been a very long development. There's, I refer to the Great Bones of Dr. McCormick's book, and then another book of Yoga and Osteoporosis by an MD. So there's a lot of material that you can get caught up in. To make it simpler, so it's not going to be a long dialogue, I had 10 minutes or 15 minutes, so you're not here for 3 hours. The main thing to know is that you can affect the bones by sitting in a chair. They talk about exercise, Deb mentioned that they want you to do some strain on the bones. Okay, that's what exercise does, helps with all that process of building bone breaking down. But you can actually do it here, and I thought we'll start with that. So this is participatory. So your feet are going to be on the floor. If you have shoes, you don't have to take them off. It usually you can feel more, but that's a lot of work for some of you not to worry about it. So you're going to press down on your feet. 10 toes. I think I checked around. Okay, lift the toes up. Nothing really to see for me to do. Press them down. Lift them up. It's exercise, yeah? Press them down. This is not easy to do for some people. Can you get all 10 toes off the floor? Okay. Is the weight shift on the ball mount or the heel? Does the weight shift on the inside of the big toe ball mount, little toe ball mount? When you put the toes down, can you get all the ball mount touching? When you lift the toes up, is it still all the way across, or is it favored? So you're finding the bones in your feet by lifting your toes. It's the ball mount bones. Press down. Relax your feet. Did anybody have a heart rate change? Your breath change? Just working your toes?
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to get your heart rate up. You may not feel it because we're so used to get a pump it to get the heart rate up. No, you can just move your toes and begin the process. Press your whole foot down, all 10 toes and the feet. Can you feel any muscles in your legs start to activate? Mm-hmm. The feet are connected, the hip bone's connected to the toe. Okay, so the muscles are all connected. So when you press in your feet, you're going to activate your bones, the muscles holding the bones. I call this hugging the bones. Okay, the muscles are getting closer to the bone. Is everybody kind of, yes, I got a lot of blank spaces out there. I read faces. Yes, does that make sense? Okay, it's simple. It's not a big deal. Everybody's like, I got to do all this exercise. Relax. Oh, that's relaxation. The muscles are not working hard. Press again. Now, as you keep pressing your feet, you feel that you're hugging the bones. There's only 2 in the calf, 1 in the thigh. You want to actually activate all the muscles. Feel like you're hugging the bone, like someone's hugging your leg, someone's hugging your thigh, and squeeze the muscles into the bone. Squeeze the bones. That would be a hug. Now, if you're holding a puppy, you do too much squeezing, you could break them. If you're holding a puppy, don't do enough holding, he'll fall, or she. So you want an appropriate amount for you to keep breathing, to be aware of some activity, and does it translate anywhere else in your body? Pressing your feet, you're hugging your thigh bones and your feet. Do you feel it anywhere else in your body? Anything happening? Anyone? Anywhere?
Boots get tired.
Say again?
Boots get tired.
The boots? Buttock muscles. Anybody else get into your buttock muscles? Because all of a sudden, the buttock muscles, the glutes, want to hold the bones. Remember the process of osteoblast, osteoclast. There's got to be some pressure. There's got to be something happening. Okay. Anybody get it beyond the glutes? Did anybody else get it in their glutes? Anybody else get in your buttock muscles? Okay. All right. All right. Anywhere else? Trace it up. The stomach starts getting engaged. Now, there's no bones here, right? We've got this big pelvic area that's called hollow. You don't want bones on the side. Okay. This is all organs that are supposed to move, be held there, not fall out. And then you've got all the organs. Sorry, this is really all the organs in the chest, the same thing. It's all hollow. So as you hold these bones, with your muscles, you're providing support to the bone to hold the body up. Following the process here. Okay. Okay. So when you get up into the spine, does anybody feel their spine affected? Well, if you're sitting back in the chair, it's really easier because the chair actually can help you keep your bones stacked. You want your bone, can't use him again, the bones stacked because that's support for your organs. So you're pressing your feet, you're hugging your bones, your buttocks, and now you've got your spine that can elevate, elongate. We talk about keeping space for your heart and lungs. So now your organs can function better. Let go your legs. Do you see some of you even just kind of went, oh, right? And all we did was contract the muscles to hold the bones. So it's not like you have to do all these weird things, and they're really good weird things. I love yoga. I mean, I've been doing this for 50 years. So I love to move around in all the poses. You'll see the pictures in magazines and books and TVs, right? The people are doing yoga and they're winding themselves up in these weird poses and going upside down. I love all those. I've been doing it.
Moving is living.
Moving is living, but that's a lot of movement. If you won't start there, you start with this. You start that your muscles hold the bones, and then your bones become supportive of your body inside, and then breathing becomes easier. Second main thing, actually, it's the first main thing. You got to have a body first to breathe, but after that, you got to keep breathing for the body to stay alive. No breath, no life. You want more space for the lungs. They're up here. They're not in your feet, just a reminder. They're not in your legs. They're not in your pelvis. They're way up here. They're far away from your legs. You want your legs to support your body. You got to use the power of your legs to lengthen your spine. Okay, I talk fast. I give a lot of information. Questions? Did anybody find easier breathing, or you're more aware of your breath as you were hugging your bones?
Do you have another exercise for us and say?
Okay.
Do you have another exercise?
You want another exercise?
Uh-huh.
You want more movement?
Uh-huh.
Okay. My time is okay. I'm being moderated here. I'm used to teaching, hour classes, and we get a lot of time.
By the way, there's an excellent class tomorrow. at
There's a
10 a.m.
3-hour class tomorrow. If anybody want to jump in, that's restorative. It's about quietness in the poses. So you're moving through all these things, but very slow motion, and it's all about relaxation. So the time frame is not as important. It's not 3 hours today. All right, so you can interlace your fingers. Okay, take them apart. Interlace again. Okay, now look at your fingers, not me, because all I'm going to do is keep doing this. So just look at your fingers and notice, is your thumb on top? Which one, right one or left one? Just keep doing it. Some will have right, some have left. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a habit. Did you know that somewhere along the way you learned to cross one of the thumbs over the other? You'll never change it unless you stop and go, my right foot thumb was up top. I'm going to change it by one and hold my fingers the other way. All of them have to change, not just the thumb. You have to change it by one. Okay, all the way, and hold it. And it might feel like you're holding somebody else's hand.
Yes.
It's like, wait, that's not normal. Okay, change again. Now you're gonna change back and forth. Yeah, you got to figure out, how do your fingers fit together in changing back and forth? And you don't have to take the hands apart. Just slide your hand, because you're kind of doing this with your hands, right? You have to get one, then the other. You're breathing. You're in your feet. You're in your thighs. You're in your buttocks. You're in your breath. That means you're paying attention to everything. You want to train your mind to pay attention. You got to do all those. I call it the yoga wrap. Toes, feet, thighs, buttocks, muscles, pelvis, breath, changing your fingers. Okay, relax. Did anybody get a workout in their hands? Oh, this is a muscle. We forget we got to use it that way. It's paying attention. So a focus is still part of your health, because otherwise we'll get focused on, some of you particularly have a lot. I'm hearing your stories. I mean, you've got lots of stuff, and it's a lot of things to focus on. First of all, you got to figure out what the diagnosis is, and then you get the diagnosis, then you got to figure out what to do with it. What were you doing? And blah, 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 blah. And it's all mental work. I'm saying, Do some physical, pay attention, use your mind differently, use your brain differently. You'll breathe differently. You will start to get a different feeling, which means you'll start to take control more of your life. Is it going to solve it? Will it take things away? No, but you'll get better choice. You'll get better choice about how you're feeling, and you can make better decisions. Because if you're tired, lack of sleep, lack of food, lack of all things that you're supposed to have, then how are you thinking even? Because your brain isn't functioning. And a lack of different nutrients, your brain's affected, not just the gut. You're learning more about the gut finally, but they also brain health, the same thing. All of them are interrelated. So you could just do your exercise every day of this, and guess what? You're hugging yourself. I'm big on hugging, okay? You're hugging your hands, you're hugging your fingers, and you're working out your fingers. So just kind of move them now. They feel a little different, like more vibrant, like, wow, I did some work. And it's not jumping jacks. I know they don't teach that anymore, I don't think, but some of us remember those. 100 jumping jacks a day, you'll be healthy. Yes, no?
Well, can I
Please,
say something?
please.
Okay, I decided I would quit dairy for the month of September. So what's today, the 15th, 16th?
Yeah.
My fingers are no longer swollen.
Okay, it happens, but you got to pay attention, because sometimes we don't feel it right away. We think, oh, you know, this time thing that Deb's talking about, it's going to take time, but you just changed a habit. You now have a choice of which way you can do your fingers, because I've had people tell me, I can't change my habits. Okay, you won't. Just claim that as much as you want to. Or the other one said, stop telling me what to do. I went, okay, let's see, you want to come to yoga class? You know me told what to do. I can't teach that way. Okay. So if you've never done this, and even if you have, I still do it and go, it's still weird. Even after all the years of doing this, it's like, I still know, I always, but if I pay attention and do this, I've got me now in my body. I haven't got any other place to be. Yes, television, phones, responsibilities, houses, this would not easy to go away. Come on home. Pay attention. Get yourself just a little while, a couple breaths, a couple times.
Change of life starts from simple.
Change of lifestyle, change of lifestyle comes from simple. I've spent a lot of years being complicated. The older I got, I really wanted them simpler. Some of us are all the same age, right? It's like, I don't want any more complications. It's too hard. I don't breathe. I don't breathe well when it's complicated. And you just were thrown a lot of information. How is your breathing? I kept going, wow, you know, because that's what it's for today. But you know, go home and you're like, okay, simpler, break it down. I can't make it much more simpler. Hug your bones, pay attention to your breath, pay attention to how the body's connected. Change your fingers.
Thank you, Candy.
Okay.
And I also want to point everybody to up on the screen here.
Oh, yes.
Strong Bones and Peaceful Moments. Candy and her
Stephanie.
student, Stephanie,
And my editor.
yes, editor, co-writer, they created this article, and it's called Strong Bones and Peaceful Moments. It's in our library. So if you haven't gone to see our library on our website, lotusblossomclinic.com, please go see it. The most recent things will be posted first for you to see. But if you're interested in, for example, the topic of bones, there's a little search bar, a little white search area, and you type in bones and hit enter. And depending on your system, you may need to scroll up and you will see all of the articles that are about bones, okay, or related to. So these are, there's 2 articles involved. One of them is a full step-by-step.
Yeah. So in talking about bone health, I'm doing my research as Deb does her research, and I'm going, oh, you're going to get all the data. I'm not doing data. I'm not at that kind of it. So it's not all this, the percentages of, and all that, but it was a summary of kind of what we're talking about now. How does it help? The second article is how to, and hugging bones is there. It's a little different presentation because you're not getting me live. But it talks you through what that could be. And I give some other practical things to do that are, you won't necessarily consider them yoga, but to me, yoga is union. It means yoking, connection, body of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, emotional, environmental. All the bodies live here. So that's where I approach it from. So you may not be getting a list of yoga poses, and you won't be. It's just going to be, how can you be with yourself more kindly?
And encourage your bones to grow.
And it's all about getting better health inside, right, from the bone structure. There will be some courses coming in November. I've got some travel I'm doing for October, but in November, watch the calendars and we'll do some things specifically with this topic like today.
For bones.
For bones. So people of likeness. We all have bones, but people of likeness that want more focus on this particular aspect, because it's in my classes, but not a focus. Okay, so that'll happen in November.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to know, catch me afterwards if you think you're going to be interested in the class
Yeah.
or Candy.
Yeah.
And we would be looking for a convenient time.
Yeah.
So for example, if you wanted to do some movement, and it wouldn't be a lot of movement.
We do chair. I mean, with chairs are
Yeah,
always
we
out in
would-
my
it
classes,
would
so.
Just be a yoga class for an hour after this one. We could set it up that way, so you don't
Oh.
have to drive.
Oh,
it.
right.
Yeah,
If it's not gonna be too much, you'll stay for another hour after this. But
Yeah.
that's definitely a good
Yeah.
possibility. But time is a factor because I don't know people's schedules anymore. So daytime, nighttime, weekends.
yeah.
So if you think you're interested, let Deb know the possible, what would be better for you, because I can pretty much be more flexible that way.
Okay, good, great. In fact, we might want to just pass around a piece
Oh,
of paper
okay.
and see who wants to. Okay, so,
The salad.
yes, so we are having salad now. Come on up, Vicky. So Vicky's going to come in and talk with us a little bit about bone nourishment now.
I gave you all, oh. I have to
She
say
can
that?
sit right there.
Okay. I passed out the handout, simple, okay, I made an arugula salad, okay? Everything is high in boron, which is an essential mineral that we need for good bone health. And in the best benefits of bones, as you'll see, okay, fruits and vegetables, of course, lots of fruits and vegetables. It provides plenty of boron, that's where the boron is. The body can't produce boron, so we have to get it from off the foods we eat, and we know how the soil is, so we have to be careful too.
Organic.
Yeah, organic for sure. Okay, boron helps the bones build stronger, makes your bones stronger. Okay, it helps you absorb magnesium, which is so important for our bones. Boosts metabolism and improves the glucose level. Again, very important. Okay, helps maintain appropriate amounts of estrogen and testosterone naturally. So that's a plus.
You probably want to sit down. because they can't
Okay.
see very well there.
All right, this is now only just a few foods. There's a lot of foods that have boron in it. Prune juice. Now you only need about 1 milligram a day of boron, says the FDA. We like a little more. Prune juice has 1.3 milligrams. Avocado, which is in the salad, 1.07 milligrams. Raisins, 0.95. So now if you eat an avocado a day, you have your boron. Okay, and if you drink a glass of prune juice, you have your boron.
Even like less than a cup for sure, like maybe 2/3 of a cup, I think would give them the
Mhm.
one.
The runs, did you?
The fun, no, would give them the one.
The one.
I did one too.
Okay, sorry.
Vicky, is there a supplement for that?
Excuse me?
Is there a supplement available for the boron?
We have a mineral supplement that has 70 different 70 different minerals in it. I like that one. That's the one that I recommend. But listen, okay, raisins, peaches have boron, nuts, there's walnuts in the salad, apple, okay, broccoli. I love broccoli. Okay, eat a big bowl for dinner. I have more boron, I can give you some. Okay, pears, beans, okay? I mean, I think all of us, does anybody not eat any of those? So somebody doesn't have, okay, but we can get boron from our food, but I like that mineral supplement too, okay? All right, now the arugula salad, we have some arugula, okay? We have celery, carrots, there's an orange in there, There's some pitted dates, avocado, and there's some walnuts. And I cut up a peach and put it in there because it's nice and high in boron. So we have a boron salad, not a boring salad. It's a boron salad.
Thank you, Vicky.
Okay?
Okay, so everyone here is gonna go off and eat. I'm just going to finalize up with this last slide. The therapeutic targets, we're going to be talking about next time will be bone turnover markers, some primary tests, really a quick review. We may not need to review. If you guys are here next week, we'll just skip that. Secondary tests, you can learn things about your bones from your fingernails, your white blood cell counts, and a lot of other things. These tell many tales. And so we, as always, we're looking to gain insights, consider solutions that we can implement. And so that's it. Questions, feedback, and I'll just check in with Miss Jeannie here online and see if she has
It's all
anything to
been
add.
great. No questions, great information. Just got my DEXA back, Deb. Would love to have you look at that. I'll send that
Oh,
on.
yeah. Okay. Well, we will be talking for sure.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and
Good to
Dr.
see and
Yaroslav,
hear
thanks for
everybody.
being with us today.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Okay, and thanks everyone for being here, and we're going to
Yes.
go off and enjoy some
I
arugula
hope
salad.
every single one of you that are right now here in front of me to be healthy.
Yeah, they do.
Thank you. Okay, all right,
Thank you.
everyone on the line. Okay. That's